What's up? I'm your boy Jody Williams, and you are on the best damn arm wrestling sports show. Come see us.
Yeah.
What's up,
And
Jody?
you're with
I'm with my man Reza, Scott Wynn. Who else? The guys, the best damn announcers in arm wrestling.
my
Appreciate
man. What's
appreciate the
up, Jody?
love.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Been a long day. This is podcast show number 4. Has anybody
Man,
done 4 shows in one day?
I don't know, but you do want more after this, and we'll be catching up to you.
Woo, 4 shows. I mean that's a long day, but you know what? I can do this all day. I love the sport, love talking about the sport. Um, when my competitive days are behind me, I can still do this and have fun with it.
That's awesome, dude. Yep, you love arm wrestling, do you?
Oh yeah.
Which brings us to how long you been doing it?
This is year number 14. I
14.
got into it late, actually December 2010, and my first ever sanctioned event was the 2011 Oregon State Championships in Klamath Falls, Oregon. That was put on by Denise and Leonard. So they've done a lot for me over my career and stuff. But yeah, this was back in for all you new heads, you know, take heed to us veterans on the screen because when I came into sport, there was no social media unless it was the Northeast message board. Okay. There was no bad part of the strap because there was Velcro straps. All right. So, you know, Gary Roberts was the only person filming stuff. So I kind of got into it during that era and it was fun because everything was word of mouth, right? And you look on that message board and it was like, all right, you see a list and everything was broken into regions, West, Midwest, East, South, whatever. And you get to find out, okay, what tournaments are coming up next. And everybody knew come Monday morning or afternoon or evening, you jump back on there to see the results. And if you knew Gary Roberts was in town filming your event, everybody brought their A+ game. So that was cool. But now that everyone's, doing their own filming, not a bad thing, but it's just I just grew up in the sport in that era, got into the sport late at 30, what, 4? I'm 48 now. So I just kind of got into it late because I was doing other stuff like semi-pro football and rugby and things like that. So
Very cool, man. It's funny because if, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I met you. I want to say it was the Nationals 2012. I met
yeah.
you and Nano.
Reno, Nevada. Yeah, Harris Casino.
Yeah, buddy.
That was the day where, for all you people who don't know how to cut weight, I'm one of them, was never a wrestler. And we drove that. So it's like a 6-hour drive to Reno from Bend, Oregon. And me and Nano and Darren Wartina were like driving, and we like brought Darren's scale. We stop every so often, hop on the scale. Damn, I'm like 5 pounds away. We're eating a lot, chewing a lot of gum, spitting out the window and stuff, and just trying everything possible. We arrived. This quick story. We arrive at Harris Casino. Like it was big time because I'm at the registration. I'm waiting in line. All of a sudden, it was sunny outside. All of a sudden, it got dark. I'm like, is there a fucking eclipse? It was fucking Richard Lupke's, walking. He blocked out the window where the sun was coming. He just stood right there in line, kind of blocked everything else. So it got like 10 degrees cooler and shit. And I'm like, Mr. Lucky's, and I shook his hand and it disappeared. But the most gentle guy, you want to meet. But anyway, back to my story. Never a wrestler, like amateur wrestler in high school, so I didn't know how to cut weight properly. So we get there, I'm in the steam room, I'm in the sauna, I'm doing all that kind of stuff. And I come out, I'm thinking, all right, that should be enough. Half hour of each should be enough. I go back down there, and at the Nationals, you got to be dead on. Ain't no clothing allowance, right? So I get there. I was 198, by the way. That was my natural weight. And Nano talked me in coming down to 187, if you could imagine that, right? So I'm thinking, all right, cool. So I get there, I hop on the scale. I'm like, damn, I'm like 2 ounces over. Shit you not, 2 ounces over. I'm thinking, what should I do now? Because registration closed in about 15 minutes. Dude said you can either go back up to the sauna, sweat it out some more, or maybe you could drop trowel, take your wedding ring off, and see where it goes. All right, so here's Nano, here's Darren, like making a wall like this, and I'm up here dropping everything and hop on the scale. Oh damn, 187. All right, you see that? Take a picture because I'm about to hop off. I'm good because
Wait,
now I'm
wait, is
hungry.
that why you got the nickname Chocolate Thunder?
So I got off there and I went to the food court. And this was back when Quiznos was still around, right? So I get a roast beef sandwich. I get the biggest Dr. Pepper you could drink. I took 3 bites of that sandwich and was full because I shrunk my stomach up. Leading up to that, all I ate was like fruit salad and just salad. That was it. No meat, no nothing. I was trying to get down to 187 pounds. And I felt fast, but I had no power, no nothing, no energy. And that was my mistake. But yeah, that was the first time I met you.
Very cool, man. That's crazy, huh?
Oh yeah.
Good times, good times. That was a good nationals too, by the way. I remember it was a packed house. There were some really good matches. And like you said, Gary Roberts was filming.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty cool. And I just got back in the sport in 2009.
Okay.
So I went to my first nationals 2010 out in Billings, Montana.
Yeah.
That's where I met Tom Nelson. We became best friends at the airport. I saw Cobra Rhodes again, and first time in like shit, like 1992. I was the last time I had seen it was in Chicago.
Hmm.
And him and I ended up pulling. I barely made it. Like I missed my flight and I missed the opens. And I
Oh,
made it, I still made it in time to do the masters.
right.
And then I ended up pulling John Pardon.
Hmm.
First encounter with John, found out how good he was on the table. We had some great left-handed matches, and he ended up getting the win on me and beat me. And then uh, Cobra Rhodes and I pulled again for the first time in a long time.
Nice.
And he got me like just like he always does, man. He gets my hand flattened out and across the table, and I hold him there, but he's got total control. And I think we slipped on one match. We went again. He beat me. So I didn't qualify, unfortunately, my first time back 2010. So that was kind of a bummer. But then 2011, I don't even remember what 2011 was, but I remember 2012 going and meeting you and everybody else, Bob Brown, um, so many guys, Mike McGraw, who I already knew but hadn't seen in years. So yeah, it
Well,
was
I'll tell you what, that 187-pound class, and I shit you not, it was Nano, myself, Bart Wood, Chase Stratton, Storm Chelino. Uh, hell, who else was in that class? There's a bunch of other people too.
what's his name? I can't think of his name, but he's a pretty boy. He's a good looking dude. Chance or Chase Stratton.
Yeah, he was in that class too. So
He did
yeah,
really
that
well.
that, that was a
Yeah,
woo, that was a tough class.
that
So
whole tournament was pretty stacked. I had Bob Brown, I had Devin Bear, um, Columba. Yeah, I mean everybody that I could think of was there. Even what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. They're from New York. He's a really good lefty. He hasn't been around in a minute, but he was one of the best left-handers.
was Silieris?
No, not Mike. Another guy just like him though. You know him, Reza. He was at all the wall events. That's pretty much a lot of guys stopped arm wrestling when Wall went down. I don't know if you noticed that, but shoot, I can't remember his name.
That money, man. And I'm gonna tell you something now. Since we're recording, my opinion, not saying it's right. What you just said, a lot of people kind of stopped when Wall went away. I think when Wall, are you talking about it in general, or when they went from tournament to like super match format?
I'm saying a lot of guys that used to arm wrestle, like a lot of the East Coast guys, like God, I'm drawing blanks on everybody's name. Frank Hurst.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's freaking really good. Mike Solaris. You know what I mean? These guys haven't really. I mean, they've showed up here and there, but even
It's also
Quillen.
possible, Scott, it's possible because I remember during the WAL days, some people were signing 5-year exclusives. So
Yeah,
if
that and they were
you
getting money. Obviously,
yeah, but if you
money
have a
brings you
five
out of the
year
woodworks.
if you have a 5-year exclusive contract, then you have a fear of competing in another venue. And even if WAL is gone, it doesn't mean that that contract is
Expired.
essentially not
Yeah.
void. So at that point, 5 years from 2018 puts you, 2024 2024, 2023, depending on if it's the end of the year. And essentially now you might see guys coming back out of the woodworks, but similar to what you were saying, and funny enough, Jody actually brought up a very good point, which is when they went from the format of tournaments where there was a $20,000 or a $10,000 payout to super match format where the guys are getting $1,000, $1,500, $2K, $5K. Nobody really knows the true amount that each of these individual athletes were getting, but obviously it wasn't the same amount as what they were getting for the tournament formats. And again, that last year, me and Travis, we put on that last finals, the one where the payouts went from 20K down to 10K. It wasn't going to happen. Production failed. WAL had a situation where they didn't have live experience on the cameras with their production crew. So essentially, ESPN indicated that now you need to find another production crew to film the show. And Steve Kaplan didn't have the capital or didn't have the ability to find investors for the capital required to acquire a production team with that live film experience. Everything fell through. Me and Travis ended up hosting that last finals. Everything fell under the bus, and then essentially the BNR Live thing kind of kicked in. Well, once that kind of kicked in, I think that really discouraged a lot of athletes because you went from the hype of UAL, Robert Drank. It really started to build the atmosphere again. Then you got WAL, ESPN really building the hype of the sport, and then it just falls off. And I think it discouraged a lot of athletes because one, they were used to big money. Two, they started getting used to the publicity and the attention, and then they felt it just kind of like was lost. And then three, the biggest factor I feel is there was nothing to fill the void. I mean, I worked with Igor Mazurenko and did Vendettas, and I did like the Zloty tour and other stuff, but they were working with CBS Sports. It wasn't getting as televised, and you also had Game of Arms around the time of the UAL WAL transition, which really exploded as well. A little bit of hype in the commercial atmosphere. And from my perspective, a lot of guys quit also because you have supplementation. Some people have a deeper pocket. Some people have private sponsors that are sponsoring their supplementation and regimens. You also have other people that are getting sponsored directly by the supplementation companies.
Yep.
So there's a lot of factors. And even today, we have the YouTube hype where, people like Alex Toprol, he's really promoted the sport in an amazing way. He's allowed it to grow again without having a real big promoter behind it. And I've always said this. I was like, if Alex could, with all the power he has on YouTube that he's essentially developed, if he could approach Netflix with a little pilot or Amazon Prime Video with a pilot, there's the possibility that he might actually get a deal with them and it could be a badass show that's made again. That's just my take.
It could, I mean, that's the new thing. Like, what should we do now? What can we do? I'm involved with Greg Sharp, and I like what he's doing.
That's
it
the
kind
show
of
on
brought,
Tubi? He has
yeah,
the show on Tubi? Yeah.
season 1's on Tubi. Right now, we're in the midst of season 3. Season 2 has already been in the books. I'm part of season 2, and whenever I guess what I'm trying to say is our stuff is done. It's on the network or whoever wants to put it out there. That's and Greg kind of talked about that briefly today. Like, if there's a movie coming out and it has Denzel Washington, or they're gonna pick that over us in a sense. Totally get that. But production, people don't realize that shit costs money, man. And it's not just, I understand people get impatient when they're on a certain season of something, but you just gotta do your production, fine, but just keep going, keep competing and stuff. And then, oh yeah, I remember I did that or something like that. So
It's crazy because you want to know something interesting? I worked on Hell's Kitchen, season 19 and 20 in the art department, building the set. The budget for that show, for a culinary show, was 77 million, and they went over budget. Why can't they make a show with like a $2 million fucking budget for arm wrestling, bro? And then I'm watching the fucking Olympics, and my wife is making a joke like, these are fucking sports, but arm wrestling, like, you have like I skateboarded as a kid, but skateboarding's in the Olympics, like ping pong's in the Olympics, like
you see what I'm
synchronized
saying?
fucking diving is in the Olympics, but arm wrestling isn't. What the fuck is going on? Like,
Oh, give it time. Who's to say that slap boxing won't be in the next Olympics when it comes to LA in 2028? I'm telling you.
Yeah, got a good chance. Pillow fighting as well.
Right.
Pillow
It's just
fighting.
it blows me up. But before we get into some other, can I bring up a topic because it's something Scott said earlier today on one of the shows, and it was the IFA and WAF thing, and there's some people I'm friends with on the WAF side, some people I'm friends with on the IFA side and stuff, and Scott had made a good point. You go to an IFA national, and you can go 2-0, not win a match, and you're on Team USA. I'm kind of going true, and I'm hoping down the road that they would take the training wheels off so we have to, hey, top 2 like they used to be. Because we were talking about that because we talked about the Arnold coming back, and we talked about how the high five is going to say, hey, top 3 go to Arnold's, that kind of stuff. And, when you have a qualifier and you have to qualify at this event to go to a next event, it makes it more special. You know what I mean? I don't know where you guys stand on East versus West. I might get heat for saying this, but as you know, I really don't give a fuck. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell people like it is because these are the facts, right? I should get a T-shirt, TATF. These are the facts. Hashtag. Because look, last year, Tim Talmadge had a qualifier for the East versus West. Cool. Went there, top 2, qualified for the finals in Virginia. Awesome. Not a problem. I qualified. Cool. I couldn't go to the finals because of work and all that kind of stuff. But what I heard that people can just show up, oh, just give me $100 and I'll let you in. Okay, you fucked that whole thing up because now it's not as prestigious anymore. Because if you're just gonna let everybody come in here and just drop $100 and then you can compete, then why are people spending airfare, travel, entry fee to do a qualifier where they can just beeline to the finals anyway? I thought that was kind of messed up because that pissed off a lot of people. Then the following year, this year, there's like, and I'm speaking of the Northeast region, there's like qualifiers everywhere. And now you're watering it down because now it's like, okay, now you're force feeding everything. Roscoe's barbecue, invitational doesn't need to be a fucking East versus West qualifier. You know what I mean? And, I'll go a step further. People don't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you look at the U.S. Nationals that took place in Allentown, Pennsylvania, go look at the flyer and tell me what that flyer said. East versus West qualifier. Why? If it's a national, right, that qualifies you to go to WAF Worlds, shouldn't that stand on its own 2 feet? You see what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to slap a label on there because you're making it a qualifier or you want to slap that label on there because you want more entries. That's bullshit.
Remember this though, Jody. IFA, PAL, IRPA, those all have, and USAA all have a loose association. WAF and East versus West also have a loose association.
Mm-hmm.
So that loose association is going to make the WAF Nationals into a East versus West qualifier. Now, the only thing I can think of reasonably was what they were trying to do is get the better guys that aren't going to go to those low qualifiers, knowing that it's not worth their time, probably. That's how they perceive it, these OGs.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, hey, if you're an OG, we know your name. We've seen you do some shit in the past. You automatically qualify. We know you're good. Like, we want you to be on our show. And that's just trying to build that atmosphere where they have more people. And it's the same thing with the IFA qualification situation that you were bringing up, where IFA is not necessarily having a top 2 or top 3 going to their worlds.
Right.
And again, I think it's just to get as many entries as possible to make the tournament more prestigious initially. So it's kind of a way of like trying to get it jump started. But then again,
I think what you're saying is good. I think they're building that. But at what point does the training wheels come off and go, okay, now we're going to top 2 qualify?
And the sad thing is there are enough athletes that they should be able to implement what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It should be that way. And they should have enough balls to do it the first year in that manner. So then the athletes that try and jump in at the last second realize that they lost the opportunity to do something good. And then the next year they jump right on the fucking bus. instead of giving them that void where they feel like, ah, fuck it, like I can fucking just jump in at the last second, they'll let me qualify, it's all good, or I could skip nationals and just go straight to worlds. Like that
Right.
really takes out the prestige of the event, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. That's part of the reason why you go is to be the top two in the nation. You know what I mean? That's like the whole idea. Even though you're still competing, it kind of takes, like I said, it takes the wind out of the sail in the sense that I can take first or second place, but the guy that just went 2 and out, like Jody said, he's going just like I'm going. You know what I
Right.
mean? We're both on the team now. Oh, we both made the team. You got the compilation prize. I won first place. Huh. Shit, I ain't gonna tell nobody about this.
Well, I guess this kind of brings up a good point. Is it possible? And this is a hypothetical question, so I'm not attempting to discourage anybody who's viewing this in any way. Is it possible that promoters are profiting substantially from the athletes? Is it possible that the high-end promoters are utilizing arm wrestling as a tax write-off?
Of course. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's part of the game regardless. You know what I mean? If you're gonna start your own organization that's you're gonna go around and you're gonna spend money out of your pocket, you're not looking to lose money, you're looking to make money. And of course, taxes are involved if it's a legit organization. So that's a gimme. But yeah, obviously it could be a huge tax write-off for a lot of these bigger organizations like Wall, you know what I mean, UAL, all of them really. I mean, like I said, I write off my taxes too. You know what I mean? I work in the studios and I have taxes and I write off a bunch of stuff because of the business I'm in. So
Right.
that's just part of the game. But yeah, I mean, whether they funnel money through it, that's a whole nother ball game. And I think we've seen that already. And but hey, like I said before, if we don't do it ourselves, we're gonna keep looking for those guys to do it for us. And all we can do is hope they do it again, but they don't. And that's the problem, is we get sponsorships, but do those sponsorships continue funneling and giving money towards arm wrestling? Like we just lost Hawthorne. You saw that, right? Yeah, Hawthorne's
That
gone,
was
dude.
that was one of
One
my
of the
favorite.
best paying out tournaments for how many years, dude? Like a long time, man. And
Uh, the Nevada State, I do believe it started in uh, the Jim Butler days up in Tonopah. Then it went to Hawthorne, and I was there for a
Tonopah
few
was
of those
another
years.
Tonopah was another great event, man. I mean, I used to go to Tonopah. I was living in Vegas. I went to Tonopah every year. I went to the Nevada States, and dude, there were years
Yeah,
where I walked away with a few K every event. I
yeah,
paid out like a champ. I mean, they even
yeah.
gave away 50 cal ammunition as the prize because they developed ammunition there, bro. He's gonna pull his out. I got mine over here too.
Yeah, those
He's like,
guys were
hell
good to
yeah.
us, man. They were good to the arm wrestlers. They loved the sport. Yeah, it's a shame we don't have them anymore. We lost them.
They're
So
badass.
here's one. This was a
2018?
2018 Freedom
Yeah.
Pool, right? That's the smaller one. The bigger one is right there. This is
Wait a second. What
uh
is that, Jody?
an actual bullet
That's what this I got
It
a few
looks
of
like
them as
something
well. They
else
were the
to
shit,
me.
man.
because this is a unique one because this was a 2019 Kenny Bostic Freedom Pool Supermatch champion. I had pulled John Shaw for that and won that one. So, you know,
Not
did they say
batteries.
why it wasn't coming back?
There's no batteries in it, is there?
No. um, did they say why they weren't coming back?
I mean, I'm assuming it was the poor attendance on this last one, dude.
Right,
It was pretty bad, man. And they gave away. Buck went out of his way. He gave out extra money. He gave out like an extra $2,000. Like he gave Tom Nelson $1,000 for, I forget what it was for probably just showing up, really. But and he gave another grand out for something else, but he kept digging in his pockets. And that Arson killed it. Like he
right,
beat everybody. Varesh beat everybody. and then they basically they did the team, the teamwork thing and laid down for one another, so they all placed. You know what I
Right.
mean? My team here from LA, more or less, they cleaned house, came home with a bunch of money.
Yeah, it's sad because when I was going there, then the Utah team would roll in there, Justin Green and Jordan Seal and Bob Brown, Cody Merritt. And, well, hell, you were there that one year, and they had when Tulia was staying in Utah at the time, and they had a guy in each class. They were cleaning the house. I think that was the day. God, who pulled Ron Bath in a super match? I can't remember. Um, but then Paul Talbot pulled Justin Bishop in a super match that day, and
Yeah,
that was awesome. And I'm telling you, those were fun.
pretty
I just couldn't make it this year, but um, that might be the reason why, trying to compete, because when you have all these other organizations like Montana Armbender, Knuckles Up, and they're not doing anything bad. It's just as a promoter, you're used to having those guys, and now they're all going this way.
yeah.
You didn't have to compete with East First West and all those other tournaments then, and now you do, and so you don't get the entries that you do. So is that think some of the hate from promoters? Not saying Buck, but just in general.
What do you
What
mean?
do you guys think?
What's your question?
My question: do you think that's some of the reason why we got so much negativity between promoters? Because now, with these other organizations on the horizon or here now, they're sucking up all the athletes that used to come to their tournaments, and now they don't have them anymore.
Well, I think something like Hawthorne, that was kind of like in my opinion, it was a special event, but it was also kind of like a local event. It wasn't something like you brought in like 20 big names. They brought in like 4 or 5 big names. They had a few nice super matches. It was mostly tournament format, but every year that I went there was never a showing of more than 8 or 10 people in their classes.
Right,
It was always kind of small. And to be honest, I mean, I remember years where Voskin went there and he literally made like 5 to 7 grand and just like won everybody on almost every class, And I mean, there's a situation where these guys, these other promoters, they're so segmented. So you have to look at the atmosphere. There's probably about 40 or 50 promoters right now, just in the United States, that all have their own little thing going on. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. But
well, okay.
coincidentally, this in the same town, you'll have 2 events on the same fucking day, and neither
Yeah,
of them are willing to budge.
I don't get that. You know,
Like,
that I don't get. If it's a few time zones away, whatever, fine, who cares? But why? Like seriously, because then you're hurting both, because now you're having the pullers make a choice. Do I go here? Do I go there? Damn,
here's a good example. Me and Scott threw an event in Phoenix, and we had prize money at the event at a Rage in the Cage fighting venue, badass venue. And half of the Arizona guys, I live in AZ now, half of
Mhm.
the Arizona guys preferred to go do backyard super matches. And we
Why?
even told
Some
them,
of
hey,
the
bro, we'll
hey,
let you do the super matches at the event.
and the trophies, Reza.
Oh,
The
dude, they were
trophies
fucking
was
badass. The owner of Rage in the Cage
this
bought these
guy
fucking
said,
trophies, dude, that were.
yeah, this
You
guy
know,
basically hired us to throw an event. Literally. He hired us to throw an event, and we put an event on, and we promoted it. And the Arizona guys, I guess there's this weird thing going on, with Tim. Like I'm sure Tim told you, but like they got this rival going on who should be throwing events out there, and who's the big dog, and who owns Arizona, and like again, it's just like stupid shit, because you got a whole state that you should be able to provide an event for. And
right,
even if you just draw from that state alone, that's the way it should be. Let me tell him, I'm gonna call him back. Um, that's the way it should be. Like if you don't have enough guys drawing from your state, then you're not promoting your event very well. Meaning that we don't promote outside of arm wrestling, which is a big part of the United Arm Wrestling League. Is
right,
that's part of it. Part of the membership money, it will promote the event that's being promoted for that money. You know what I mean? So you're going to find out about it through the news, through the internet, the whole town's gonna know there's an arm wrestling event going on in their town that weekend. You know what I
Right.
mean? And they don't do that now. Like I was telling Reza, back in the day, bro, we want to get home in time for the 11 o'clock news because they had the highlights from our tournament on
Yeah.
the news, bro. Because somebody called them and said, "Hey, we got this arm wrestling event going on. You guys come check it out." And they would send a news reporter down there and they would report on it. These guys don't even do that. They don't take the
It's
time
funny
to
because I held a
notify them.
WL. I don't know if you guys did the same as I did, but they had me do a WAL qualifier in Vegas. But when I did that qualifier, RJ Journal, it was like RJ Review or something like that. They came and they did a badass segment on it, bro, and put it in the newspaper, put it on TV. And half of those arm wrestlers, most of them were amateurs, but they were more excited about being in the newspaper than they were about the fucking event.
I just think we live in a weird state now with arm wrestling. Honestly, we just live in a weird state where it's like, man, like it's not what it used to be. And I wish it would get back to that. I like what Greg Sharp's doing. He's kind of bringing it to where, okay, I'm going to keep the money here, but I'm not going to raise it because everybody expects that. Hey, we got a good tournament. Let's raise it again. And more people come, and then, hey, I can't do it. Now I got to drop it some. Now you're going to drop some more pullers. That's how Wall went down. And then they end up morphing into a super match series because when you go 10 grand and then the following year, 20 grand, and then the year after that, back to 10 grand, once people get a bite of that pie or, a piece of the apple or whatever you want to call it, they're used to that. And now that kind of spoiled some, not all, but I think that kind of spoiled pullers because now, hey, events you would go to back in the day that you wouldn't blink because you knew so and so was going to be there. Yeah, if I want some money, no big deal. Now it's like, well, it doesn't pay for my weekend because they were used to placing at a certain spot where that money did pay for their trip. That's where we're at right now.
Right. I mean, it's always been like that though, Jody. That's the thing. Like that's what I'm saying when, people, I don't know what they think when I keep preaching this uniting the arm wrestling community, when I'm talking about uniting it in the sense of we all become members of one league that's not trying to take over. We're literally trying to help everybody that wants to be a part of it in the sense of running the events by certified referees, using standard rules, following the protocol, and that's it. And we provide money for your events. We meaning all of us, every single puller that becomes a member, their money becomes a part of every event that we fund.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so basic and so simple, and it's not a pyramid, but you can look at it as a pyramid because we're trying to build a membership with as many members as we can. And in that pyramid is us, right?
Right.
And we're the pullers union, if you want to call it a union. It's not a union because we're not providing benefits, we're not providing insurance. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
but
It's not about that.
if it
We're
grows
trying to
enough,
provide money so people can make a living at arm wrestling.
yeah,
Right.
If
but
you can win 10 grand a month extra on top of your job, because we're competing on Saturdays and
Right.
Sundays most of the time. So if you're winning an extra 10G a month, bro, that's a little bonus. And if you're making 25 a month, dude, you're making a decent living now. I mean, it's not, compared to real athletes,
Right.
but hey, we got what is it? Freaking what's it called? The freaking cornhole
Oh, yeah.
cornhole leagues. They got their own network. You know what I mean, bro? What's the problem?
Too
What
many
is
egos.
We got too many egos, not enough Indians that want to participate in something that could change everything.
see, I
But
have a different
we'll pay $100 to enter an event. I'll pay $100 to win 1,200
I have a
bucks
different
because
perspective, Scott. I share everything you guys are saying, but I feel that the majority of promoters are monopolizing individually, and they see a union as a way of discouraging their profit margins. When a person throws a
yeah,
tournament
I agree.
and they have 100 entries at $50 a piece, that's 5K. Then they have a venue. The venue provides alcohol typically. They get 5%, 8% kickback on the alcohol sales after X amount of dollars. That's another 1,000 or 2,000, depending on how much the athletes drink. Then they hook up with a hotel, and the hotel gives them a 15% residual for the reservations that are made in accordance to that event. By the time they're done on a 1 weekend event, they're going to profit about 7 or 8 grand. That's not including if they sell t-shirts, if they sell merchandise, if they have a poster that's signed by someone special that they sell for $100 that cost them fucking 2 cents, 10 cents to print from fucking China and had somebody sign it. All of these things together make a guy, he can make 10K every weekend. That 10K every weekend could have been going into a pool that created $1 million pay at the end of the year if every event that's happening in the United States went into one pool on a public website that visibly showed you the money being built throughout the year, the inspiration of athletes seeing fucking, oh, there's 600K, oh, there's 800K, oh, there's fucking 1.2 million. Like, you see the pool as it's developing on a website. And at the end of the year, you throw a badass tournament, you pay these guys 15, 20, 50, 70, 80 grand, whatever the pool builds up to, evenly distributed amongst the classes. And then you save 15, 20 grand to throw a badass party for the athletes to make them feel appreciated for their time that they've dedicated throughout the year fucking training for this sport. So
No, I see that coin too. I just think we're at a point now where it's okay, you have to have somewhat of an ego to be in the sport. Let's get that straight. But I think, if you can control that ego, then I think, you have something going on. The problem is we got so many, I don't know. I mean, you can pinpoint like the younger people, what they see on TV to just add water and success, where guys like us have been grinding since day one, and we're like, what the fuck. But the way I see it is just whoever has the most money to give out, they're going to go that way. I just want to compete. I mean, I just want to compete. It all depends on what your path is in the sport. My path doesn't have anything to do with East First West or King of the Table, none of that kind of stuff. It don't. That's just not me. Because I know deep down, I know who I am. I'm not an elite puller. No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I love to compete. I love super matches,
do you
which we'll
feel
get
that
into.
those venues truly have all of the elite bowlers competing in one venue?
You talking about in the States?
I'm saying, like, here's a good example. Prior to WAF segmenting into a two world category, which would be IFA and WAF, do you feel that WAF is as prestigious as it once was, or IFA was as prestigious as it has indicated that it could be? So, for example, I personally feel I went to a nationals years back. There were 30, 40 guys in the class. I went to Zloty tour. There were 30, 40 guys in the class. Those tournaments, they were so fucking deep that if you got 7th place, it was like, holy shit, dude, I fucking was a beast. And there are guys that have gone to nationals where there are 7 people in the fucking nationals and they get first or second and they feel accomplished. And I'm not taking anything away from those athletes, but I don't feel that because of the segmentation, there aren't as many athletes competing in these events, which makes it easier to walk away with a medal, makes it easier to claim that you're something that you probably aren't, makes people perceive that they are something that they probably aren't yet, and it's a situation where, again, I don't believe IFA is as prestigious. A title from there is as prestigious when half of the athletes, or maybe more, are going to WAF. And then I don't feel that East versus West is as prestigious when some of those athletes might have ties with IFA, and then East versus West is afraid of being banned from WAF, so they won't allow those IFA athletes to compete, for example. So it creates a segmentation in the community.
No, I mean it's a ping pong game back and forth, and if you were to ask me right now, 8:15 Pacific Standard Time, July 30th, and you or Scott says, go Jody, give me an answer. Which one has the most competition at their world championships? Which one would you say? I would say right now as we speak, I would say WAF.
I agree with
But
that.
you have to go through these hula hoops to get through it though. all that nonsense, you know. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder because I'm at an event and there's a IFA referee, and if I have to be taking a picture, whatever, oh, you were there, you're banned now. How's somebody gonna tell me, a grown ass man, I can't represent my country? I don't give a fuck where I go. You know, that's what rubs me the wrong way. You know, that's just me though. But
I wonder
I
if
mean,
that occurs in any other sport other than arm wrestling, to be honest. I mean, were there guys that went to the XFL and took a picture next to an XFL referee when it was existing and went to an NFL and played in the NFL and got banned from the NFL because they were at an XFL
yeah,
game? I mean, it's like, were there Globetrotters that got kicked out of the NBA because they took a picture
right.
next to a fucking Globetrotter ref? Like, what the fuck? Like,
That goes to
you
show
know?
you it's all about power, trying to control the narrative. Stop trying to control the narrative. Let people do what they want to do. You know, I mean, it's bad enough we were always mocked over the years for having 3 nationals. So to kind of counterbalance that, they had a triple crown, right? You remember those triple crowns?
Oh,
You
yeah, of
know, they had
course.
to counter it by doing that. But yeah, we still got made fun of. I mean, I still get jealous when I look at this year's Canadian Nationals and they got 908 entries. I'm gonna say it again. 908, 908 entries at the Canadian Nationals this year in Quebec. You tell me what the hell's going on. You got Winter Blast in Pennsylvania that have more entries than both of our nationals combined. You go tell me what are we missing here?